So there seems to be quite a few Trump supporters, certainly Trump voters, who are beginning to realize that the promises that Donald Trump made before the election, all his promises that he would bring down prices and bring down inflation and make life more affordable and close the border, none of that stuff is going to happen. And he's admitted it too. I also want to go back to part 3 of my analysis of the interview that he gave with Meet the Press. Now, it was a long interview, and he told so many lies that this has required a 3-part analysis. And as much as we hate hearing his voice and seeing his face, I think it is important to remember what he said back then compared to what it is that he's willing to do now.
Should Ukraine prepare for less aid from the United States after you're sworn into office?
Yeah, probably. Sure.
You said you can end the war in 24 hours. You've even said you want to try to end it before you're sworn into office. You're actively trying to?
I am.
Have you talked to President Putin?
No, I have not.
You haven't talked to President Putin since you've been elected?
No. Well, I don't want to say that, but I haven't spoken to him recently.
So you've spoken to President Putin since you've been elected?
I don't want to say that. I don't want to say anything about that because I don't want to do anything that could impede the negotiation.
That's right. Donald Trump claimed before the election that he could end the war in Ukraine in 24 hours. He said that it was the easiest thing to do, that he was very good friends with Vladimir Putin and he got on okay with Volodymyr Zelensky. But here we are. It's been months now since November 5th and no sign of any peace deal or negotiation or anything that Donald Trump had promised. In fact, when pressed as to whether he'd spoken to Vladimir Putin, he initially said no, then he says yes. Well, maybe he has, but he doesn't want to talk about what it is that he said because he doesn't want to impede the negotiation. It's total bullshit. Please, if you voted for Donald Trump, your bullshit radar needs to be turned up a few notches. You need to recognize that this is a guy who performs. He is acting the role of a president-elect. He has absolutely no idea what he's doing. He didn't write the art of the deal.
If I won that election, which you know how I feel about it, I won't get into it because we don't need to start that argument. I think it's an easy argument. It was really proven even more conclusively by the win that I had on this one. But
you did get a court, sir.
Well, that's your opinion, but
okay.
I disagree with it.
Just a quick aside here that Donald Trump still maintains that he won the 2020 election. He claims that the journalist's opinion that he lost the election is just her opinion. And this is what we have. We have a man who has been elected president again, who believes that he won the last election that he lost. That is who we are welcoming in to the Oval Office. A man so deluded and so deranged that he will not drop the conspiracy theory that in some way the last election was rigged against him.
Do you commit that the United States will remain a member of NATO while you're in office?
Again, they have to pay their bills. If they pay their bills, absolutely.
But not if they don't pay their bills.
But NATO's taking advantage of us.
You would consider the possibility of
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Let's be clear. Donald Trump has no intention of maintaining any alliances outside the alliances with dictators. He is an isolationist. Mitch McConnell wrote a very interesting piece criticizing Donald Trump's desire to remove the United States from these alliances, whether it be the Paris Climate Accord or as he did with the Iran nuclear deal, things that are designed to bring us together and keep us safe. He does not understand how these things work. He is entirely transactional. And so the idea that America can stand on its own 2 feet and can just dictate to the rest of the world is not reality. That is not how it works. We are too intertwined with global trade, but also this global community that enables the free movement of people and goods. Trump doesn't really know anything about it, so he chooses to isolate America from the rest of the world.
I hate to say it, I think you have far fewer hostages than people think.
Really?
That's what I think. It's only my opinion, but okay. I've been right on just about everything.
Donald Trump quite happily saying out loud that he has been right on just about everything, which is, of course, completely untrue. Donald Trump is literally wrong about everything. He just rewrites the narrative to take people's focus away from what he has said previously to what he is saying now, because he is a confidence trickster. That is how he operates. So the fact that he has the confidence to say, I have been right on just about everything, is him doubling down on the control he has over you. He is trying to make you think that he has been right on just about everything, but he provides no detail. And trust me, when we play the tape and bring the receipts, he is wrong on everything. Trump lives in his own head. He has a much greater opinion of himself than the rest of the world does. And when he talks about the fact that the rest of the world is laughing at America or that we don't have any respect on the world stage, what he's actually doing is projecting his own insecurity. The reason America lost its power and its strength and its respect on a national or international platform is because Donald Trump became president in 2016. A reality TV show host, a failed businessman with no experience. That is why the rest of the world started laughing at him and was embarrassed for him. And he is now projecting that in some way it's Joe Biden's fault. Nothing to do with Biden. Biden, if anything, restored some of the alliances and the respect that the US had previously. Trump is a laughingstock. He is a joke. And now the US is going to go back into this period of embarrassment as a new scandal will break every day or indeed every hour, as they have been doing over the last few weeks before he's even entered the Oval Office.
If China invades Taiwan on your watch, are you committed to defending Taiwan?
I never say.
Still won't say.
I never say because I have to negotiate things, right?
Can you just say if you'll defend it? I'm not saying if the U.S. military.
I'd prefer that they don't do it. I have a very good relationship with President Xi. We have been communicating with each other.
Since you were elected?
Yes.
And you sent that message?
Since like 3 days ago. Yes, we communicate.
And you sent that message to him, don't invade Taiwan?
We didn't talk about that. Okay. We talked about other things.
So Trump admits to having private conversations with President Xi Jinping of China. He says we get on very well. Of course, as you know, he loves an authoritarian. He loves a despot. So he's chatted to him, probably just congratulating each other on their great successes, but doesn't actually mention the relationship between China and Taiwan. Doesn't want to commit to whether or not the US would stick up for Taiwan. Well, it's clear. The reason that Donald Trump will not commit is A, he doesn't know anything about it, he doesn't know what it is, he doesn't know whose side he should be on, but B, his loyalty and his allegiance is with the great dictators. That is where he sees himself. That is who he wants to be with. And so he would never say anything negative towards Putin, to Xi Jinping, or even to Kim Jong-un. I mean, he sent that guy love letters and an Elton John record, for goodness sake.
For the sake of unifying this country, will you concede the 2020 election and turn the page on that chapter?
No. No, why would I do that?
Okay.
I have the absolute right. I'm the chief law enforcement officer. You do know that. I'm the president. But I'm not interested in that.
Trump, yet again, refusing to turn the page on his 2020 election loss. This is, again, a conspiracy theory, something that he is carrying with him. He is the one that created this storyline. Nobody else. Everybody else recognized that he lost the election by a significant amount, that he was not the outright winner, and therefore he should have walked away. He didn't. He tried to overturn the election. He had a coup in place with a fake electors scheme that was all ready to go, relying on Mike Pence, his then vice president, to effectively recertify the election in Donald Trump's name. Pence refused to do that. Then we saw the riot at the U.S. Capitol, windows broken, police officers attacked, which he also denies was anything other than just tourists touring the US Capitol. I mean, we have to be absolutely clear who it is that has been re-elected to the United States presidency. A fantasist and somebody who is completely disconnected to the common reality, not just the reality that you and I share, but the reality that the rest of the world shares, the reality that has confirmed that climate change is a real thing. But no, this guy is choosing to claim that it's some kind of Democrat hoax and will not do anything. He wants to drill, baby, drill. That's his plan for America. That is how he chooses to handle the existential threat of the climate crisis, is by drilling for more oil.
What do you want to say to Americans who didn't support you in this campaign?
I'm going to treat you every bit as well as I have treated the greatest MAGA supporters. There's never been anything like MAGA in the history of this country. I have to bring back civilization to our country.
Trump can't answer a question directly. How are you going to treat people that didn't vote for you? He's now saying he will treat them as he did the MAGA, and then, of course, he changes the subject to talk about how great the MAGA movement is. Well, people who didn't vote for Donald Trump are not suddenly going to become MAGA people. If anything, they're going to do their best to protect themselves and their families from the wrath of Donald Trump and his dictatorship.
People have to be able to walk across the street and buy a loaf of bread without being shot, and that's going to happen. But what I say to them is, I love you, and we're going to all work together, and we're going to bring it together.
I don't know where Donald Trump lives, what kind of apocalyptic existence he thinks that people have in America, but it is perfectly safe to go get a loaf of bread. Even in some of the most troubled cities, you can still go buy bread. I know he thinks that you have to show ID to buy groceries, but again, he is a fantasist. He has created this false bogeyman to scare people into thinking that life is so bad and that only he can fix it. Well, he does not have the tools, he doesn't have the know-how, he doesn't even understand how society functions. The man was born with a silver toilet in his mouth, and he has lived in a bubble for the last 70 or 80 years. So we really need to understand that his version of America is not our version of America, and we can do very well without his intervention. Thank you very much.
And I was getting along with the left. Let's call it the left. We'll be nice. Okay, we're just going to call it. But I was getting along with people that you would consider liberal or progressive, as they like to say, at levels that I never thought was possible. And you know what it was? Success. Success was bringing the country together, and that's what I want to do.
Trump was a progressive. Trump was a liberal. Trump donated to the Democratic Party, to Hillary Clinton. Donald Trump is a populist. He has completely changed his politics because he knew that he could convince the Republicans that he was an ideal candidate for them. So he has no principles, he has no opinions, he is merely a populist. And so to claim that he now gets on with Democrats is laughable. He was a Democrat, and he doesn't really hold any personal views because he will just change his story depending on who it is he is confronted with. I really feel that people are starting to realize that Trump is a fraud. People are starting to discover, as this man unravels, that he's only in this for himself. And all of the promises, we're going to start to see how America really looks under a second Donald Trump regime come January 20th, 2025.
This is your first interview since you won the election.
Congratulations.
I'm Anthony Davis. You can find me on the 5 Minute News YouTube channel and podcast, on Wednesdays co-hosting Uncovered, and on Sunday on The Weekend Show with Midas Touch.